details of the talk.
This happened when I was a senior in high school, about 10 years ago. It was one of those gray, rainy Thursdays where everyone's half asleep and counting down to the weekend. Our English teacher, Mrs. Patel, was out sick that day, and we had a substitute. I don't remember his name ever being written on the board. He just introduced himself as Mr. Lane. He was tall, pale, and had this tired look in his eyes, like he hadn't slept in days. From the start, something about him felt off. He never smiled, barely spoke, and didn't take attendance. He just told us to take out our notebooks and copy notes from the projector. The weird part was, the projector wasn't even on.
Sir? The projector's off.
Mr. Lane didn't react. He stood completely still, facing the chalkboard, one hand gripping a piece of chalk so tightly it squeaked across the surface. His writing didn't make sense, a mix of half words, strange symbols, and random letters. It was like he was trying to remember how to spell, but couldn't. After a minute, he stopped and turned toward the class. He looked right at us, but not at us, through us. Then, out of nowhere, he said,
"Lock the doors."
The room went silent. We thought it was some kind of drill, maybe one of those surprise safety checks the school did. But he said it again, sharper this time.
"Lock the doors now."
Why? Are you the principal now?
Mr. Lane didn't answer. He walked to the door himself, closed it slowly, and turned the lock. Then he pulled the blinds shut over every window. That's when the intercom buzzed overhead.
Attention students and staff, this is a lockdown. Please secure your rooms immediately.
It felt like the air was sucked out of the room. Some people gasped. Others froze mid-motion. It couldn't have been more than 5 seconds between Mr. Lane locking the door and that announcement. He didn't move, just stood there, head tilted slightly toward the ceiling, like he was listening for something we couldn't hear. After a while, he turned toward the window that faced the hallway. We couldn't see out through the blinds, but I swear he was watching something move out there. No one said a word. A few girls started crying quietly. Jeremy tried to whisper a joke, but his voice cracked halfway through. I was in the back row, near the corner, and from where I sat, I could see Mr. Lane's hands trembling. Then, out of nowhere, he muttered,
"It's not supposed to happen again."
What isn't?
He didn't answer. Minutes passed. The only sound was the faint hum of the fluorescent lights. We waited for an all clear, but it never came. After about half an hour, the intercom crackled again. A man's voice said,
Attention, the lockdown is over. Resume normal activities.
Mr. Lane didn't move. Everyone looked around, unsure what to do. Then, without warning, he walked to the door, unlocked it, and stepped into the hallway. He never came back. We sat there another 10 minutes before a police officer opened the door and told us to evacuate. Turns out, half the school hadn't even gone into lockdown. The office denied sending out the announcement. The PA system log showed no broadcast during that time. When they searched the building later, they found every door in our hallway locked from the inside, except ours. There was no record of a substitute teacher named Mr. Lane. No one had signed him in at the front desk. His name didn't appear in the sub-roster, the district files, or even the visitor logs. Mrs. Patel returned the next week and asked if we'd all behaved for the sub.
That's strange. The last time I had to call out was the day of the old lockdown, 5 years ago.
We didn't understand what she meant until she explained there'd been a lockdown years earlier after a man had entered the building pretending to be a substitute teacher. His name was also Mr. Lane. He'd never been caught.
This story takes place during my sophomore year of high school back in 2014. It was a small town school, the kind where everyone knows everyone, and nothing bad ever really happens. At least, that's what we thought. It was a Tuesday morning, third period. We were halfway through a history test when the intercom beeped. Everyone groaned, assuming it was another pointless announcement about parking passes or library fees. Then we heard it.
Attention students and staff, this is a lockdown. Please secure all doors and remain in your classrooms.
Our teacher, Mr. Gomez, froze mid-sentence. He looked confused for a moment, then quickly got up and locked the door. He told everyone to get away from the windows, just like we'd practiced. The usual drill routine. At first, no one panicked. Lockdowns were rare, but we'd had a few drills before. Mr. Gomez tried to keep everyone calm, saying it was probably a false alarm. But a few minutes later, another voice came on the intercom.
All teachers, please escort your students to the gym. Repeat, escort your students to the gym immediately.
That wasn't normal. During a lockdown, you're never supposed to move. Mr. Gomez hesitated, staring up at the speaker like he was waiting for clarification. Then the voice repeated. Same message, but the tone changed slightly. Slower, deeper, almost distorted.
Teachers, bring your students to the gym.
It didn't sound like the principal anymore. Mr. Gomez shook his head and said quietly,
"We're staying put."
That's when someone knocked on the door. Not a bang or a frantic pounding, just 3 slow, deliberate knocks. Everyone in the class looked up at once. We all crouched behind desks and lab tables. He approached the door quietly and leaned close to the small window. After a few seconds, he stepped back fast and turned pale. He mouthed,
"It's the principal."
We could barely see through the glass, but it looked like her. Same hairstyle, same glasses, same cardigan. She waved her hand and pointed toward the hallway. Then she mouthed something back at him.
Open the door.
Mr. Gomez didn't move, he just stood there frozen. Then the intercom clicked on again.
Mr. Gomez, it's okay. You can open the door now.
The entire class stared at the speaker above the whiteboard. The voice sounded identical to the one outside the door. Identical.
How does she know he's not opening it?
Mr. Gomez slowly backed away from the door, motioning for everyone to stay quiet. Then the knocking started again. Louder this time, sharper, faster. And just as suddenly, it stopped. The next 20 minutes were dead silent. No footsteps, no more announcements. Just breathing and fear.
Attention students and staff. We are in a real lockdown. Please remain where you are. Do not open any doors for anyone. Police are on the scene.
Half the class started crying. The difference in her tone was obvious. The first voice had been calm, rehearsed. This one was terrified. When the lockdown finally ended 2 hours later, police escorted us out room by room. They told us not to look down the hallway as we left, but of course, everyone did. Wet footprints were leading from one end of the corridor to the other. Bare footprints. They stopped right outside our classroom door. Later that day, the principal confirmed she'd never made any announcements. She'd been locked inside her office the whole time. The line between her phone and the PA system had been disabled. They checked the security cameras, but the feed had cut out 20 minutes before the first announcement. When it came back, the hall was empty. The police never figured out who used the intercom or how they knew teachers' names. But that wasn't what scared me the most. It was something my friend Sarah said later, after school. She'd been in the art room, right next to the gym. When the fake announcement told teachers to move their students, she swore she heard a crowd of footsteps echoing inside the gym. But when police searched it, the lights were off, and it was empty.
I went to a small private high school just outside of Chicago. We were the kind of school that bragged about safety drills, fire, earthquake, lockdown, all timed to the second. Nothing ever really happened there, at least not until my junior year. It was mid-November, cold enough that the windows fogged up every morning. I was in a computer lab with about 20 other students, finishing up a group project. The teacher, Mr. Dunn, was walking between the rows of desks when the intercom chimed.
Attention staff, we are going into a lockdown. This is not a drill.
The words dropped like ice water. No one moved at first. Then Mr. Dunn locked the door, shut off the lights, and told us to get against the back wall. It was silent except for the clicking of someone's laptop closing. You could hear people breathing, short and quick. I was sitting behind one of the tables trying not to make a sound when my phone buzzed in my pocket. At first I ignored it. Then it buzzed again. When I checked it, my heart nearly stopped. The message was from a number I didn't recognize. It said,
I'm scared. He's in the hallway. Don't make a sound.
I assumed it was a wrong number, maybe someone panicking in another classroom. I typed back, "Who is this?" A few seconds later,
It's Emily. I'm hiding in the computer lab.
that was impossible. I looked up. Every single person from our class was sitting in that room. Emily was right across from me. She was pale, clutching her knees, staring at her phone like she'd seen a ghost. I mouthed, "Did you text me?" Another message came through.
He's walking past the windows. Don't move.
Mr. Dunn looked over when he saw my phone screen light up. I whispered, "Someone's texting us." He frowned and motioned for me to stay quiet, but then Emily's phone buzzed too. She looked down and went completely still. Her screen showed the same text I'd just received, word for word. Someone out there knew what was happening in real time. A minute later came another message.
He's trying the doors.
The sound that followed made my blood run cold. A metallic click. Someone is testing the door handle, slowly, deliberately. Mr. Dunn mouthed,
"Stay low."
We all held our breath. The handle jiggled once more, then stopped. A full minute passed, nothing, then another buzz. "What?"
That's not funny.
"Police are on site. Remain in lockdown. Do not open your doors for anyone." We stayed huddled there until an officer knocked and used a code phrase to let us know it was safe. When they escorted us out, the entire hallway smelled like bleach and metal. They questioned everyone afterward, asked for screenshots of the messages. When I checked my phone again later, all the texts were gone, every single one, deleted. The number had vanished too. Police said it was probably a spoofing prank, but Emily and I both knew that wasn't true, because there was one thing we didn't tell them. When we left the classroom, we passed the storage closet next to the lab. The police tape was already across it, but before they sealed the door, I caught a glimpse inside. There was an old office chair, a phone charger plugged into the wall, and a single open laptop screen still glowing. The chat window on it said,
They're not supposed to see me.
And right below that, one final line, still being typed out,
He's behind you.
This incident occurred in 2019 at a middle school in Pennsylvania, where my cousin worked as a janitor. He'd been there almost 15 years, long enough to know every sound the building made. The place was old, built in the 1950s, with loud radiators, flickering lights, and an intercom system that crackled every time someone spoke. He usually worked the night shift, cleaning after hours once the teachers and kids were gone. It was quiet work, the kind that lets your mind wander. But one night, that quiet was broken by something that didn't belong. It was around 10:30 p.m. The halls were dark except for the emergency lights that stayed on overnight, dim red bulbs glowing above the exits. My cousin Mike was mopping near the cafeteria when the PA system suddenly turned on.
Attention students and staff. This is a lockdown.
He froze mid-step. It made no sense. There was no one left in the building but him. Then, after a long pause, the voice added,
Please remain in your classrooms. Do not look into the hallway.
He said his first thought was that someone had accidentally triggered a pre-recorded announcement. But the longer it played, the less it sounded like a recording. The voice was dark, eerie almost. He walked toward the main office to shut off the system, but as he passed the trophy case, the intercom popped again.
If you can hear this, do not leave your room. Do not look into the hallway.
The voice was clearer this time, sharper, almost pleading. Then, from down the hall, he heard footsteps. Slow, heavy, dragging footsteps. He told me it sounded like someone walking barefoot on the tile. He ducked into the nurse's office and peeked through the crack in the blinds. The footsteps grew louder. Then the intercom clicked on again.
She's in the hallway. Don't let her see you.
The voice wasn't eerie anymore. It was urgent, desperate. He glanced through the blinds and saw a shadow stretch across the wall, long and thin, like someone tall carrying something at their side. It passed the doorway, then stopped. He could hear slow breathing just outside the door. Mike held his breath, crouched behind the nurse's desk. After what felt like forever, the shadow moved again, sliding past the window and disappearing around the corner. He waited another full minute before creeping back out. The hallway was empty. The air smelled faintly like copper and cleaning chemicals. He hurried to the control room where the intercom equipment was stored, determined to cut the power. But when he opened the door, he stopped cold. The microphone was already on. The red light was glowing, and sitting in the chair was a woman wearing the school's janitor uniform. Mike thought it was one of the new hires, until the woman turned her head. Her eyes were milky white, her mouth moving as she whispered into the mic.
Attention, students. The lockdown is over. You may return to your classrooms.
Mike said his body just reacted. He slammed the door shut and ran. He didn't stop until he was outside panting in the parking lot. When police searched the building later, they found no one inside, but the intercom microphone was still on and the chair in the control room was spinning slowly as if someone had just gotten up. The next morning, the principal called Mike. She told him there was no record of a new janitor ever being hired. Then she asked him one question that's haunted him ever since.
Are you sure the announcement said the threat is inside? Because the original lockdown recording, the one from the system archives, was recorded years earlier, and it didn't say the threat is inside. The recording actually said,
The threat never left.
Tales After Dark. Subscribe for more true horror. The next story awaits.